And we're back.
Hey, hey, hey.
Let's get everything set and dance.
Hey, y'all.
And dance.
Hey, y'all.
And one
Hey,
and two
y'all.
and one and two. Let's go. Let's
Hey,
go.
y'all. How you doing? How you doing tonight? I am going to share it on
Just
my
gonna
page
share.
for those who, um, are friends of mine. You're not friends of ours yet, but if you are friends of mine, come on over
Come
and
on
join
over.
friends of ours. See. Okay. Share.
Once you got it, share it. Almost there. Give me a few seconds. We could have played some music.
Oh, we could play some music. What kind of music you want?
Once you got it, share it. There we go.
I love you, Jesus. That's what all in the prayer videos start with things.
Right.
Like
Well, happy Friday night, everybody. Hope everybody's doing
Ron is
well.
on.
Dr. Ron, good to see you, sir.
Hey.
Hey.
How y'all doing tonight? What are you guys doing at this time?
It's Friday
of
night.
It's
So,
9:58.
We got a
Just
few
checking.
minutes in us. If you haven't already shared, we're going to pick up on the conversation that we had the other day. We read the comments and we saw that a lot of people wanted to talk about the relationship advice, the individuality within
Yes,
a
in
marriage,
relationship
and
or
how
marriage.
do you come to certain terms and agreements. So let's pick up there tonight.
Mm.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, pick on.
All right. So we got married almost 20 years ago. We got married in 2005.
Yes.
Very young. Oh, let me look at the camera. Very young. So we didn't really know what we needed in a person. We just knew that we were each other's person, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the things that people are looking for today, having experienced more things, they have more expectations, right? But some of the expectations are a little bit on the delusional side. So I wanted to hear. I hear that the dating pool is crazy, right?
Yes.
I hear that that the training is different. Like
Yes.
there's a different breed. So I wanted to hear what are some of the challenges that we see out there. What are some of the things that
you guys are seeing,
that you are experiencing? Because like we don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't know.
We laugh about it all the time. Like thank God, you know, we got married early.
Yeah.
So we got we got over that hump. But I've been seeing stories lately, like we all seen like the cheesecake fiasco, Cheesecake Factory fiasco last year.
And if you have not seen it, he's talking about the girl who was going on a date with the guy and she did not want to go to Cheesecake Factory. And so she was like, ugh, I'm not going to Cheesecake Factory. Oh, okay. And took her home. And so if you didn't know that story, chime in.
And then a few months ago, we had the Risa Tisa. Y'all heard about Risa Tisa, right? So I think that was a perfect storm going into COVID, right?
Yeah.
And they got together and they decided to get married. And I mean, it's easy to be catfish. What happened?
She said the dating pool has urine in it. Terrible. Oh God, does it? Okay. Stephen.
I think the more mature you get, the older you get, the less you're willing to settle.
Yeah.
So I understand that totally.
Yeah. Hey, here's the thing. Make sure you guys share the live so that, you know, some of the people on your timeline know that we are live and that we're talking relationships, and just so that you can share the information as well. I will say that yes, we were pretty young when we were dating, and so some of the things that I didn't require, I didn't really know should have been a requirement.
Okay.
Things like courting, right? Because we grew up friends from like way back when we were like 12 years old. If you didn't know our story, we've known each other since we were kids, came from the same church organization. And so we already were just really good friends. And so it kind of transitioned right into a marriage. And so I didn't make him chase me or make him like shower me with gifts or make him like do all the things that people are requiring now to be the one that they choose, I guess. And so it's kind of like a blessing and a curse because I didn't know I needed it. I didn't know it was a thing. But then later on in life, when I'm feeling like, oh, I do want those things.
Right.
It's a conversation that we have to say, hey, I know I didn't
ask for it
before, but
yeah.
I want it. Like I
That's
want
super.
flowers. I want to wake up to flowers on my birthday or balloons, or I want to wake up on Valentine's Day or something to something pre-thought out. Right. But
Right.
that wasn't something that we had required in the beginning. But a lot of people nowadays, if like everything is a party, it's a expensive affair.
Yeah.
It's like and then if you don't do those things, then some people feel like, oh, that's not the one for me. So how do you guys feel about that? Like, do you think it's a lot of money that has to be shelled out in the beginning of a relationship, or do you feel like money is not as important as finding out who the person is?
Oh, that's a good question.
I would love to hear what you guys think.
That's a good question. And while y'all are circulating in the comments, a lot of times men, we test motives by what you're willing to do. Well, how you're willing to celebrate in that initial phase. Like sometimes, you want the red carpet rolled out, but we just met. I don't even know if we're compatible or not. This is what I hear, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes they'll watch and see, and not to say that you don't.
So they're looking for gold diggers. That's what they.
Yeah,
what you're saying is they're looking for.
Listen, there's a whole market of content out there. People trying to talk to women on the street, and then they go up to this expensive car,
right,
and see if they change their mind about sharing their number or not. So it's a whole corner of the market where people are trying to do that. Not saying that everybody's like that, but.
That's true. And she said battling social media. Oh no, that's Steven. I'm sorry, not she. Steven said battling social media, the battle, what's real and what's fake. Definitely.
So I wanted to talk about that because what do you share? Like, I know a lot of people are making up stories like that. It reminds me of that Reesa Teesa thing, like how you can be anybody now based on social media, based on your profile pics,
based on Turo, based on
Airbnb. Right.
You can really be anybody.
Yeah, for a day, at least.
Yeah, or a week.
Or for a week.
Right, and just take a whole bunch of content and then just share it periodically, and then people think it's a longer period of time. Social media is really throwing sugar in the game. Like, I feel like, it's just not realistic. And then it builds an unrealistic view for people who are in the real world. So like, you don't feel like maybe, like you want what somebody will actually get in real life. Right. And so I feel like a lot of people are single because they're looking for the social media fad instead of finding real love, real relationships, or giving it enough time to know whether it's real.
Okay.
That's what I think, guys. I don't, I'm not here. I want to hear what you guys think because at the end of the day, that's all.
But we didn't have social media back then.
We didn't have social media. Well, it was out, but it was like nobody just said it really.
Oh.
Yeah,
it was very new. It
was very, very new.
Very new. Like.
But, let us know. Oh, hold on. Okay, somebody said
the wrong name.
Oh, wrong name. Yes, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. So you may be wondering about our little prop tonight, the traffic light.
Yes.
So we want to know what are some of the red lights.
It's on yellow right now. What is the slow down?
What is the slow down? What makes you pause? Like, hold up, wait. And then what are some of the green light qualities that you see in an individual to make you say, yeah, I could go forward with this relationship. I think a lot of times, sometimes we ignore the signs. So tonight is about traffic stops. Like, what makes you go? What makes you stop? What makes you pause?
Yeah.
So go ahead and put those in the comments. Even if you're watching the replay, go ahead and let us know. somebody says even battling the fake church and spiritual people. So
Mm,
like you hear this analogy a lot that church is like a hospital, right?
yeah.
So they are all in different places, uh, emotionally, spiritually. Like we all love God, but our ability to love and to coexist with people is
Right.
not always there.
Hmm.
Like you go gung ho for God, and the Bible points this out. Like, hey, how do you say you love me who you have not seen,
Right.
but you cannot love the people that you see on a daily basis? So it makes you question. It makes you want to work on that whole love relationship and dynamic.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I think that's definitely important to make sure that we are showing love to people, around us, and not just uh, love relationships, but relationships with our friends, relationships with, gaining friendships. I know for me, gaining friendships is difficult because it's hard to trust people. I've been in a few relationships where I'm like, thinking everything is fine and we're cool, like we're doing life together, and
right.
then find out from someone that, hey, they're telling all my business to somebody else, or they are not really your friend, they kind of just like pretending. And so
Mhm.
I've been in those relationships, and I feel like how do you trust again, right? I
So
think
in that
that's
place, where was that either yellow light or where was that red light? Like what made you start to say, let me slow down?
so when I started to hear things that I had shared with them, that kind of gave me that yellow light, right? So it's like, hold on, slow down. Okay, is this something that's happening on a regular basis, or is this something that just happened one time before? Because I've been there where I've shared something that I thought was okay to share, and turns out it wasn't okay to share it, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. But that didn't change who I am genuinely. I don't intend on hurting people or saying things. So I give people a bit of the benefit of the doubt, right?
Right.
So I give more grace. And then sometimes you keep extending grace and you're like, wait a minute, wait a minute, this person is playing me, right? And
Yeah.
so you just have to figure out where that red light comes on for you. And I always go to the person and I say, hey, this is what I heard, and keep them accountable for their own actions. And so um, that is what helps me. Like I'll go to the person and just say, hey, what's going on? And then depending on how they respond, that's where I determine the red light.
Don't trust people, trust God and the Holy Spirit. And
That's the truth.
so that's a real tough one because I've seen over the years that relationships tend to bleed. Like the people that you do life with and share experiences with, sometimes because you are in another group or have another group of friends
Mhm.
and you love and you respect those friends, sometimes your experiences bleed, or the time, or you think that you can share something that you didn't get permission to share.
Mhm.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
So how do you build those boundaries, or how do you, I think the first thing is like like he said, like just you yourself limit what you share.
Right. But that can be
For
rough because sometimes you need people that you can share your innermost thoughts with, right? Like I can share anything with you and know that it won't go anywhere. But then who do I talk to about you?
talk to God.
Who do I talk to? And
Then I talk to the Lord.
it's rough because
Right.
you want to bounce ideas off against people, or just different things, or even finding out the only way really to access information is to be vulnerable. So finding out, or I guess like getting the counsel from them, like, oh, how did it work for you?
Yeah.
You have to share something, right?
Right.
And so I feel like once you share something, maybe it's not like the big thing, you share something with someone and just see how it goes, and then build a relationship on that. Um, you just never know. You just never know. But also, Holy Spirit will tell you and let you know, hey, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Or he'll show you. And sometimes, like I said, he'll send other people to say, hey, that's not the right person for you to share with.
Okay.
Jamila said, um, Jamila said something. Red light is no relationship with Holy Spirit, no prayer life, no love for people genuinely.
Right.
Exactly. Those are definitely red lights in my book. And then Yolanda said, that's a good yellow light example, Leisha. Oh, that's awesome. Like, that's all I can think of in a like a friend relationship, because I know those are things that I experience. But tell us some things within the dating pool or in your dating life that are yellow light situations, or when should you decide, oh, this is not gonna work out?
Yeah, because if it's hard to have friends, I can only imagine
I can only
trying
imagine.
to talk to a person that you want to do life with every day.
Exactly.
And take vows before God. Like, I can
Yeah.
only imagine if it's hard in the friend pool.
But the good thing about it, personally, I think, I don't know about the guys nowadays, but back when we were dating, it's like you can normally trust that a guy is not going to tell your business. Normally, like if he's a man of God, if he's like, I mean, for me, for you, like I didn't think you would tell my business, and you didn't. But like with girls, I think it's rough because in my experience, it's been really hard to find girlfriends who are honest and not like talking to each other. Is that something that y'all find too? Is it hard to find girlfriends as females to confide in and build relationships with, or is it just in dating relationships? I'd love to know what y'all think. I mean, what do you think? Because I mean, guys nowadays.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, culturally, I feel like everything or everybody is being shared, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, is all being shared online. Like,
Yeah.
I've heard people call this the year of exposure, and people are just sharing, like, hey, have you seen? Have you heard that? Did you see this headline? And I just think that we're so used to it now that we expect people business to be exposed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and that's World End
I
Church.
feel like everybody needs to be authentic. Like, listen, if you are faking something, get real. Get real. And nobody got time.
So one of the scriptures that we always go back to is that what's done in the dark
will come
to the light. And I had to learn that in my 20s for my credit, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just thought that I could just buy stuff and eventually they'll stop calling, stop asking for it. You know, like what can William say? You know that I owe you. I know that I owe you. And as long as I owe you, my mom said, you'll never go broke. But I learned that, hey, that was to my detriment. And you need to call and pay these people.
Exactly.
Like, whatever you took out a loan for, like, you need to be a man of your word. And so I learned that it doesn't matter what happens or how long it's been a secret thing, it's coming to the light.
It's coming to the
It's
light.
going to be exposed.
Right.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. So especially in relationships, especially if they put a ring on it and you get, someone's gonna find out eventually, right? Like, you're gonna be your authentic self. That's why I say, like, in relationships, people used to say, oh, they don't pass gas around their mates. I'm like, sis, let it on out, okay? Because one day, it's not like on the first date or nothing, but I'm saying one day it's gonna just come out, and you cannot. Like, for me, I remember when I was in college, and I was the same person. Like, you know, I'm not gonna do that kind of stuff because it's, you know, not appropriate. You just kind of do what you gotta do, and like, I was bloated for like 3 days.
You was messed up.
I was like, I couldn't breathe. It was horrible because I'm trying to hold this. I'm trying to hold this something that's gotta get out. And like, one day, honey, it's just gonna come out. So even if it's not something like flatulence, it definitely is the same way.
Yeah,
so if you are a gold digger, right, they're eventually gonna find out. And if you are a man that cannot provide, or a man that cannot sustain or pay your bills on time, or your credit score is not good, like, these are things that you must disclose, because when they find out and it's too late, then you're looking at divorce because it's misleading.
So do you think like love blindly overrides some of that stuff?
I
If we
think for
don't
the
talk about it.
first year or so, right? Like you can fake it till you make it for like a year, and like it gets a little rough and tricky.
TMI.
Who said TMI? Who said that? It's okay. Here's the thing. It's real life, okay? And I'm very transparent with real life because for me, like that's something that's like it is TMI, okay? However, it's like you know how it feels. Like it's gonna bubble up, whatever it is, no matter what it is you're lying about. You'll eventually blow up. Like
Right.
it'll blow up in your face.
And
Well, let's
yeah, I
say
think
that.
the point is the good, bad, and the ugly.
Right.
Like you gotta
Right.
learn to share all of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And be realistic. I think a lot of times we don't realize that we are two separate people who have flaws. And so it's okay for me to have flaws because you have flaws.
Right.
And blending our flaws together that first year, first 5 years, really, it can be
that
rough.
first decade. Like the 20s, we were just fumbling into stuff.
Oh God. Oh God. When things were just coming out. And there was a lot of things, like you said, that I did overlook. And I'm sure there was things that you overlooked too, for the sake of knowing that this is what God told us to do.
Brandon said, let it out the first day. That's the test.
Listen.
Are you gonna stay?
Are you gonna stay or are you gonna go?
Is it real?
Listen, don't be vegan. Don't be vegan and dating. But anyway, let me see. What she say? I miss y'all going on live and worship moments. Yes, we are gonna start doing worship moments again next week. So
I hope y'all come to the concert.
Yeah,
June
stay
8th.
tuned. Yes,
live
June 8th,
recording.
Live recording.
Put that in right now.
You just snuck it on in.
Yeah, RobPerkinsJr.com. I would love to see y'all there. Listen.
Yes.
Yeah, I got something special planned for the city. Like some of the people that we've grown up with and served with over the years. I have something special, so I hope to see y'all there. All right.
Yes.
But let's go.
Yeah, shameless plug.
So back to these traffic signals in the back. So if you're just joining, we have a little prop tonight: the red light, the yellow light, and the green light. And we want to know, since a lot of people have asked about relationships and some of the some advice we would give. We want to know, what are some of the signs that you are currently seeing out there in the dating pool? And we know a lot of things happen. We know that there are divorces. We know that for whatever reason the relationship didn't work out. So how do you bounce back? What are you seeing? What are you noticing out there, trying to love again, trying to put your heart back out there? So we want to know.
Or even in marriages, right? Because within your marriage, as you get older, every decade that passes really is a different thing. It's kind of like a redating someone new. And so how are you guys communicating how you feel? Holding it in, thinking that they will know or see or ask? Or are you just offering the information because you don't want to end your marriage, but you know it's something necessary in a conversation that needs to be had? So are we having these conversations, or are we kind of just like moving silently through our relationships? Because the real test in a marriage comes when there's conflict. Like, can you withstand the storm? Can you have a fight and not go to bed angry? Like, can you make it right before you go to bed? Or are you staying up all night just like, or are you just going to bed mad? Because for us, I know there have been times that we've gone to bed mad, but it don't last long for us because somebody's gonna make somebody laugh or something. However, there are times where it's something that's huge. It's like, no, this is going to be more than that. We have to have a conversation.
Right. And I think having that scriptural background, knowing that you shouldn't let the sun set on your wrath, I think that's major. You got a big comment?
Yes.
Let's see it.
Tracy said, on my first date with my husband, I gave him the unadulterated Tracy tea. He asked, "Why did I share so soon?" My answer was, "Let me tell you what others will." I gave him the opportunity to decide if to proceed with caution or go for the goal or the green.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's working.
It's working. Exactly.
It's working. I love that.
Because you definitely have to do that. But people aren't doing that now because people are putting on wigs and makeup and body parts and teeth and like all kind of things, that girdles that have things built in to be somebody that they are not, when honey, all that's gonna come off, and we gotta know whether he like you or no, right, or not, because what do you do when you move in together?
It's a great question. So over the last like 3 to 5 years, right, they have elevated this thought of a number system. Remember we were talking about? So most people are 5 to 7, and people ahead, right?
Yeah.
And they're looking for 8 to 10. So does that play a role in how people are looking now? Like you can make yourself a 9 or 10 if you put enough work.
If you put enough work into it.
You put enough work into it.
Or at least you look like a 9 or a 10.
Right.
But really, you like, I've seen some miracles with makeup.
Right.
Where people are like a solid 1.5 and come out
but that's catfishing, right? And it's fine.
That's catfishing in person. Like you used to catfish people and never see their face, but you are talking to a person who's walking and talking, this smooth catfishing you in front of your face.
So is that a red light?
Oh God, that's a red light. That's a red. Let's go swimming. I feel like everybody needs to go swimming on their first date, okay? Because
all the makeup's gone.
Because all that stuff got to be washed away in order to know whether I'm interested or not.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, and we always say, looks are not everything. They are not everything. However, they are some things.
Yeah.
And if I got to wake up and look at you every day
at 6 a.m., it's forever is
a long time. All right, we got a few comments. Let me catch up. All right, moving silent gets you nowhere. Exactly. Let me show you me first thing in the morning and when I'm on the way to bed. Exactly. Yeah. Listen, it's necessary. It's definitely necessary. Okay, Jamila said, I listened to y'all's music after your last live and added it to my playlist. It is very interesting. As far as the dating pool, I want to get married, but I'm scared to date. I don't blame you, girl. I personally do not believe I am ready yet. To be transparent, I tend to focus too much on the person and lose focus on my personal time with God. Okay. I believe God is building my relationship with him first. Then he will bring me my Boaz. Hopefully it doesn't take me too long to get it. So get it together. You got to get it. Right. Get in there real quick.
So let me ask you this, because like, if you read the Bible, most marriages, especially in the Old Testament, were transactional, right?
Yes.
So when they prayed to get Rebecca for Isaac, and it was one of those, Lord, let this next lady be the one that I'm going to take back. And it just happened to work. So are people still praying those, Lord, let me just find the right situation. Let me be successful in this hunt or this search.
Okay. But what about the fact that the Bible says that a man that findeth a wife finds a good thing? So what is the woman doing, right? So is she just praying that she be found? I mean, because really, if that's the case, that's what we should be praying. But at the same time, I think if you're praying, let me be found, then you are already in the right frame of mind with God to say, Lord, I want to put you first. And you're putting him first, even allowing him into the thought pattern of finding a mate.
Okay. That's good advice.
Yeah.
And, I hope so. And the especially the,
because that's what we did. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's what we did, really. Like, you were dating somebody else, I was dating somebody else, and and we, like, the Lord was like, to you, what did the Lord tell you?
That you were my wife.
Right. And then, then now I'm found. Like, if we put it into perspective, right? The Lord told you that I was your wife, and then now you told me that I was your wife.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, don't listen to that all the
time.
Yeah,
because everybody got a word from the Lord.
Come on here, somebody.
On everything.
Hello.
Where to move, what job to take,
right?
Who to marry, like
all the things.
The first one is not normally the right one.
no, it's not.
So,
because I also could have been married before. Oh, thank you, God. Anyway, but knowing or hearing the voice of God on your part, and then me also hearing the voice of God. Now, if you have not heard our story, I knew I was going to marry him when I was 12. I said it from across the room. He had no idea. I'm going to marry him one day.
No idea.
So I already knew. It took him about 6 or 7 more years to find out on his own from God. And it was when we were the most prepared as we could be for where we were.
Okay. I'll take it.
So, but yeah, like that's a rough phase because
I think, when we crossed paths and it was either now or never.
Right. Thanks.
Like,
because I was going to get out of here.
Yeah, it was either now or never. Like, hey, this is our moment. This is our opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
There were certain lifestyles that we were both living that we needed to, like, because if I had another relationship and start having children.
Oh God, if you had children.
Yeah.
That would have been the red light for me. Am I okay. The red light?
So this segues to the next part.
Mm-hmm.
What are those red lights for people that have experienced life a little further, like those that are in their 30s and 40s that have had relationships? What are some of the things that you can expect or not expect? And it's really hard, even in your 30s. If you've had any sort of relationship in your 20s, then you have something that came from that relationship, some kind of baggage or family or whatever.
Well, I know for me, because we were so young, I was like 19. Like the pool was a large pool at that time in my age range because, it was a lot of single people at 19. So it was a few things that I had on my list, and it wasn't a whole lot of things. Number one was that I didn't want to be with someone who already had children, which I don't say is a thing for everybody. Like, you just have to know what is for you. But I had saved.
But you were 19, so
I was 19, right? And also I had saved myself for marriage. Okay, me personally, I had dedicated my life to God, and I had saved myself for marriage. And I'm like, Lord, I did all I could. Now I need to make sure that all of our things stay in the same place. Granted, things happen, but just for me and my testimony where I was like, this was one of the things that I wanted. Figure out what you're willing to accept, and then what things are definite red lights. Like some things are yellow lights, or it's like, oh, it gives me pause, but let's just see how it goes.
Right.
But there are some things that are red lights for you. And so you just have to figure out what those are and ask the Lord and like narrow it down. Because a lot of times people are creating red lights on things that really aren't that important and lose out on relationships that could have really been.
Yeah, I agree. But then, like, don't wait too long, because that brings me back to that Reesa Teesa situation. There were several.
Wait a minute. Don't wait for Boaz. He died shortly after. Brandy, you tried to. Now, most of the time, they just saying, give me something. There's no real preparation anymore.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, that part. It be them wolves in sheep's clothing lying, saying the Lord said, come on, sis. Yeah. I'd be like, how the Lord told you I'm your wife, but he didn't tell me your walk. You didn't tell you your walk past air smells. I hate that you set me up. I hate that you set me up with that.
This way you got a good old commercial.
I can't with you, Brandy. I gotta start reading your comments before I read them out loud. So yes, definitely, honing in on agreeing with the Lord on it. Go to God. If somebody tell you that the Lord told them, you go to God too, sis, and say, God, is this what you had for me? And weigh it against what you ask God for. Like, either he gonna be answered prayer or no. As long as your prayers are for God's will and not yours, and not like tall, dark, and handsome. Maybe it may not be dark, but it might be tall. It may not be, and it'll definitely be handsome to you because you have to look at them every day. So, but back to the scale, what you said, some 10s or some 5s are looking for 10s, but there's a whole lot of 5s available. Like, I feel like there's a pool in the middle where it's like we're looking up rather than looking lateral.
Okay.
Right.
So like people that can come together and grow together, and build together,
and build together, have the potential. Because now there are relationships where everybody didn't have nothing, they built together, and then he leave and find somebody else. There are situations like that. That should not happen in the Christian world, or people, not say Christian world, in the world of people who love God and really submit to God. But that's a great.
But do you find that that's the struggle? That's the stronghold right there. Like, people don't really love God, so how can they really
love
you?
Yeah.
Like they love the idea of God,
or the idea of marriage,
the form of godliness, but there's no discipline,
right,
to really honor those vows. Like if you don't tell the truth about anything else, why would I believe in sickness and in health? Like why would I trust you on that?
Right.
And it took you 6 months to tell me your real name,
or your password to your phone,
or your password to your phone,
or your social media password. Because these things tell who you really are. Like, who are you talking to? Like, for us, I've never been the person to be like, oh, let me see your stuff. Like, oh, let me look through your things. Because if I have to enter a relationship wondering if I'm going to find something, it shouldn't be like that. Like, I should feel all of your attention and not feel like your attention is elsewhere with someone else. Work is one thing, but someone else is another thing. And so I just feel like that's a red flag.
Red flag?
Yeah, that's a red flag if somebody doesn't give you access after, some time.
Okay. So how much time do you think it should take?
Don't ask me that.
Because you don't know.
I feel like
we don't know. Like,
I feel like day one, let me see your inbox.
But you don't care. I can really say that you don't care about that stuff. Like, you don't care.
You asked me before, like, do you care about me? Because I wasn't like calling you and hounding you and checking for you all the time. I could
literally stay gone for hours. Many times it's, hey, how was your day? And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because I don't have a worry that you are doing something you're not supposed to be doing. So, and it's hard out here for relationships with God, I think, because there's so many things occupying our time that we're not really reading our Bibles enough. We're not really praying enough. Like, it's a lot of things that could make our relationships better, but we choose to scroll instead.
Scrolling is huge.
Scrolling is rough.
It's huge.
It is. Because you can start watching just a little bit and then look again and 4 hours went by. And be like, wait a minute, I had stuff to do. So you have to set yourself a timer or something. If that's the thing for you, I think you should definitely set a timer to like get on all the social media, do something else. But that's, that's just how I feel about it.
All right. So we talked a lot about the red lights, some of the yellow lights. What are some green lights, and have you seen them lately?
Yes. Have you seen any green lights?
Like, what are some good signals? What are some promising signs? I know people are still getting married. I see people celebrating all the time. I think the machine or the business of the wedding in general has become so astronomical that a lot of people are kind of like nervous about the commitment when it's not really about that. I think a lot of times we want to show that we have a status, but now that everything is inflated, like, do you have
status?
Do you have 30, 40, 50K to put into one day?
And
listen,
should you?
And should you? Like, listen, we
back in our day,
we
spent a lot of money.
We spent a lot of money, and as soon as it was over, we was like, man, we really should have thought about putting that into a house.
Yeah, or like vacation,
or vacation, or anything.
Anything else,
right?
Because
we felt like we didn't get our money's worth.
Yeah,
for that one day. I mean, I know it's memories forever, so I want to hear what y'all think about that.
Too. Yes. Do you think that an expensive, extravagant, elaborate wedding is worth the money just to be married, or is it worth investing in your future and having somewhere to live, or paying a large amount so you don't have to pay as much debt? I mean, it's many options. However, I can say that now after I done spent the money on the wedding, because we did have a nice size wedding, and it was beautiful, but I cannot remember the details. Like, it was so fast, and it's so stressful. It was so stressful just making sure everything got done and just over planning. And I feel like I just didn't need all of that.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, we definitely didn't need all that. But a lot of times we say, hey, it's her day. Let's give her what she wants.
Right, for other people, though.
For other people. But that's in a lot of things that we do as people. Like, we really putting on for other people.
That's true. So, what y'all got to say?
Makes you ponder. So I think, once we got married, it took us some time. Like, I guess within 2 years, we bought our first house. So we were definitely focused on that, but it was a lot of like financial stuff that we didn't know because we didn't come from, that background to really
know what to do with money.
Know what to do it. Like how to accumulate.
Or how to make sure your credit is accurate, like you said before.
Right.
With just running up debt and then not paying it back.
Right. Because it's easy to say, hey, I'll pay for that later. Or you kick the can down the road. And that's why credit card companies are still in business, because you're like, as long as I can have it now and pay for it later, then I'll always say yes. But it's to our detriment.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
All right, that was me. My first was not memorable, but our intimate 10-year vow was for us and meant more. Wow. I agree with that. Jean said, absolutely not. Oh, Janine. Hey, girl. Absolutely not. We got married at a dance studio. Wedding and reception took place in the same space. Wow. Listen.
Wow.
And you guys are still together. Right. Beautiful family.
Right.
But that's not to say that a big wedding is not necessary for some people. Like, some people have had their big wedding and say, oh, I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I wouldn't have changed it. There are people who feel that way. And if that's for you, then great. I feel like that makes great sense if that's what you want to do. So I would never take away from you and say you shouldn't do it. But I'm saying do what feels right for you. But at the same time, I do love the idea of having a big wedding at your 10-year. Because then
like you're ready for it.
Right? I think that's a great idea. I think that is what people should definitely do.
So my cousin's on. She says, "Good evening. Your wedding was beautiful."
Aww.
I say invest in a home immediately after your wedding was beautiful. But you can still have a beautiful wedding.
Yes. But you can have a beautiful wedding. I mean, and this is not for everybody, because some people got the money to just be great. Be great.
Yeah, like celebrate on your level.
Celebrate on your level. The problem comes when you celebrate on someone else's level to please people.
Right.
And then
you're paying for it 5 and 10 years.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, don't do that. You should never put it on credit.
I've seen people they plan ahead and they pay on it as you go. So when they go into their marriage, they're debt free. Like, if you have a plan
right
to to go forward like that, then
Mhm.
yes, I
Yeah.
support that. But
Right.
to,
Or if you're rolling in it, because nowadays people just rolling in coins, YouTubers and
but everything is like high, like
everything's
event space, the decorations,
everything.
the food,
Flowers,
flowers.
honey. Do you know how much flowers cost? Woo! Yes. And then the food and all the things. And then like you spend all of this money for like 300, 400 people and no shade. No shade, right? But you don't even get that back in gifts to say thank you for thinking of me when you
I,
planned your
I
event.
think it's like I think it's like certain classes though. I think certain circles, it the love is reciprocated. But I do.
Not that you do weddings for gifts, right? That's not what I'm saying. I want to be clear before I get slammed. But I am saying there are certain cultures where they bring large gifts and they shower them in gifts or cash or whatever, and like they're pouring in. I like those weddings are normally the ones you see that's really lavish and huge and stuff like that. But I feel like they do that because they know what people are bringing to the party.
Right.
I'm not saying that we do these things for gifts, but I am saying that if we're going to do it and invite people who we haven't seen in 20 years, then we just have to think about how that's going to play on our budget.
Well, it goes back to what I said about like the Bible. Like it was in the Bible, it was a transaction. Like normally when when there was a marriage, there was two families coming together.
Mhm. And there
Um,
was a dowry involved.
yeah, and they either was given a house or a business or something sustainable to start that future together.
Right,
Um, we don't see that today.
right.
Like it seems like the couple is mostly contributing to that future together.
Mhm.
And this is a small circle of people, but you just don't see that kind of involvement about these two families coming together, two futures coming together,
Right,
and it really being transactional like it used to be.
right. I've seen at literally hundreds of weddings. Some were elaborate and over the top, some were intimate and quaint. It's really about the relationship. Longevity is the ultimate goal. So I
Right.
say plan for the future, but make sure the day is super
Super
special for you
special.
both.
Exactly.
I feel like that's the
That was
best way to
perfect.
say that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Like I said, make sure that it's what you want, right? But at the same time, make sure that it is not going to kill your marriage later on when you like, we gotta pay these bills. And then y'all fighting about paying for a wedding that it's just not worth the fight.
Okay. So I'm gonna jump in this topic real quick. Oh Lord. Because in the church, growing up,
Mm-hmm.
you're taught and rehearsed it's better to marry than to burn. You feel
Mm-hmm.
like people jump into these situationships
Mm-hmm.
or they don't plan of the scripture. And I absolutely agree with the scripture. I just think that the way we interpret it and execute that is very wrong. And we don't have the mental capacity because we're thinking with other body parts instead of actually doing the work that it takes and understanding what a marriage really takes. So let's speak to that. I know this is tough, touchy subject, but I think that's one of the things we really got to talk about. Like if you're pushed to marry, and you never learn that person
Mm-hmm.
or what it means to marry,
Right.
like what you said, you didn't have the expectation. You just knew that you're supposed to marry somebody.
Exactly. You're supposed to marry somebody, but also that's interesting because
But I
it
think a
is
lot of
a
people
lot.
struggle
Mm-hmm.
with that mentality
Mm-hmm.
because of how it was presented.
So what do you do? Like what should you do then?
I think honestly, you should be in an environment where there are strong marriages. That's first of
Mm-hmm.
all.
And
see
around
it.
wise counsel.
And around wise counsel.
Mhm.
Man.
Yeah, wise counsel for sure. Because there are questions that need to be asked that you don't know need to be asked when dating, right? So someone who is seasoned and married and has gone through the first 5 to 10 years will know what questions need to be asked, and then it'll give you the opportunity to think through exactly what you're getting yourself into.
Right.
And I think it kind of removes a little bit of the love is blind
Right.
when the real starts coming out. And
Right.
that's why marriage counseling is really necessary.
Right.
I mean, like, mandatory.
Right.
Like, it should be
And
mandatory.
we say, and we, I think a lot of people do the work now, but 20 years ago, you didn't really hear that much about going to premarital counseling, right?
Mhm.
Or it wasn't as serious because you love each other, right?
Mhm.
Y'all want to do this, right? It's honorable before God, right?
Yeah,
That's what they said.
that's what they said.
But are you healed enough and whole enough to make this step? Or
Yeah.
are you walking down the altar in fragmented pieces,
Mhm.
trying to become a whole something?
Right, exactly. Connie said, if I were getting married today, if I haven't talked or interacted, seen you within a year, you ain't invited. Sorry, but not sorry. You're so right. Gotta get that wisdom and have that talk. Exactly.
Yeah.
You definitely want to make sure that the people who you will spend your life with are present, and
Right.
make sure, because it gets tricky.
You try
It's tricky.
to keep you accountable.
Yeah, and keep you accountable.
So let me pivot real quick. For those of you just joining, we're talking about the red light, the yellow lights, the pause, and the green lights of dating relationships. Some of the things that you've seen, obviously, it has changed over the last 20, 30 years.
Mhm.
And they're saying that the dating pool is crazy out there. But we want to know, what are some of the things that you've seen in your experience with relationships
that are yellow
lights
or red lights.
red lights. What
Or
about
even green lights.
What about, because we talked about families
Mhm.
like merging? What about having in-laws that you don't necessarily agree with or get down? And I'm not disclaimer, I'm not talking about my in-laws,
Right. Yeah.
But what about, because she said if I ain't seen you in a year, what about if that year was to keep your sanity or your relationship healthy because there was some disagreements there? So I want to hear, like, how do you blend those families, or how do you at least build a mutual respect? I know that, like, I have a lot of cousins, right?
Mhm.
And if someone was courting someone and it was getting serious, I make sure I tell them, hey, make sure you bring them around us so
Mhm.
so we can ask our questions. We
Right.
can do this interrogation.
So we can make sure they make it through
Right,
Christmas.
right. And I hope one of my cousins see this and she takes heed, because I'm coming for you, and I'm very serious about that. Yeah. So make sure, like how do they get around your family? I make sure that I see it from an objective point of view, not that you don't, but what they say, love is blind. So I want to make sure. Sometimes your family looking out for you, you really don't know it,
Right.
or you can't see it at the time.
Mhm.
That they're saying pump your brakes, or maybe take your time with that one.
Yeah.
So I really want to hear about that one.
Yeah. Definitely. Family is important to many people.
Okay.
Family is not important to all people.
Okay.
Some people have family trauma.
Yeah.
And they don't really know how to bring that into a relationship. So that could be tricky and rough. Or like, you build a relationship with someone, and then it says, to not let other people around you, or let no man put us under, kind of thing.
Okay.
That can get tricky, because I mean, now we're at marriage, but at dating, I feel like we need to ask the people, like, who would stand up right now and say, I should not do this.
Oh, yeah.
Because um, those are probably the people you need to at least hear them out, even if you don't agree with everything that they say. You need to at least hear them out and determine whether or not it's valid.
That's very interesting. Like you said, family trauma. Some people actually escape some serious situations. Right.
Yeah, and then their family don't want what's best for them.
Right.
And so I've seen that too, where people have to cut their entire family off to be safe in the relationship with their spouse,
right. or to start a new normal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that can be rough. Connie said, gotta have conversations about and with them in-laws if you don't agree.
Right.
Exactly. In-law conversations have to be done before marriage. Exactly. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too. I didn't have those kind of problems for the most part.
Why?
I mean, because I've known your family for years.
Oh, okay.
And so, I feel like I was accepted already.
Okay. You were.
Yeah. Like I would call your house and your mom would be like,
yeah.
She'd give me the phone. Yeah. Or like, give me your phone number.
At like any time of the day or night.
You could have just left that part.
No, I wanted it to be clear. Like it could be 1:00 in the morning, and this teenage girl is calling.
Don't speak to my character.
The house phone, like not even the cell phone.
Because the house phone. Cell phones were not a thing. You didn't have
I did have a cell phone.
You didn't have a cell phone.
I did.
You had a house line.
I had both. I had a cell phone and a house. I got a cell phone when I was 16.
I don't remember. Was I calling his cell phone too?
Probably. It was like, oh, he didn't answer the cell phone.
There was some boundaries I should not have crossed.
Right.
However, when you are so familiar with someone and you feel like, because our initial relationship was more like brother and sister,
right,
not like dating. So I wasn't calling my boyfriend at 1:00. I was calling a friend.
Yeah, it's your brother. But for what though? What was the point?
Because
he was bored.
No, you know what it really was? Let's be honest, because you lived in Virginia. Uh-huh. So during the weekdays, it would have cost me. I could only call on the weekends because we had free nights and weekends. So I could only call at night and on the weekend because it was long distance.
Okay. You spend
one for me.
That was really good. Like, yeah, I remember 9:00.
Mm-hmm. After 9:00, it was free to call. And I didn't have to use none of my minutes, and it was long distance.
You're dating yourself. Anybody remember free nights and weekends?
Y'all remember free nights and weekends? Y'all know y'all remember free nights and weekends because that's all we had. I was a kid. I wasn't paying the phone bill. If I had called you during the daytime, I would have been in trouble.
Okay, I respect it. All right, so we have a few minutes left. It's almost 11:00. Yeah, we've been talking. Yeah. We're talking for a minute.
No. But we appreciate your feedback, guys. We appreciate you guys coming out.
Jamila said, "What was y'all each other's 5 faves?" Remember the
5 faves? He was one of my faves. I don't know if I was one of your 5 faves and all.
I don't.
Eventually, you did add me to 5 faves.
Eventually, I did.
Yeah, I do remember that. I do remember that. But that happened later on, later on. When I'm talking about free nights and weekends, that was like when cell phones started to be popular, like when people started to switch from pagers to cell phones. And then
I had Intellos.
Yeah. Ooh, I had Voice Stream Wireless.
Oh wow.
Which turned to T-Mobile.
T-Mobile plug in the house.
Which I still have, and still have the same phone number from then. So
Connie said, "Glow loved you. Would have laid into you."
Yeah. Exactly. She was so sweet to
my
me.
mom was always nice.
Yeah, she was, and I was very surprised.
I might have got chewed out, but
I didn't.
Whoever's on the phone, she would say face.
Yes, she was.
Yeah. Oh yeah, hold on.
Mm-hmm. Let me find him.
Let me find him.
Mm-hmm.
He probably sleep.
That's what she said. Probably sleep.
Right.
Like I should probably be asleep, but here we are.
Right.
But anyways, but yeah. So again, I appreciate you guys coming on to chat with us. I lost my comment section. Okay. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I appreciate you guys coming to chat with us. Them night and weekend minutes, she laughing. After 9 p.m. Oh, you read that one. T-Mobile plug. Exactly. Jamila, she sells T-Mobile devices, so y'all check her out. If y'all want to switch.
Yep.
So, but yes, I definitely feel like the conversation was interesting on tonight. Hopefully, if you guys are replay watching, that you still comment below and let us know all the things, because we do go back and watch the comments. I go back and look at the comments and just laugh and reply. So I appreciate you guys chatting with us, and we will be back next week. I don't know if we'll be back on the weekend. We'll see how it goes, but we'll definitely be back next week.
She's trying to be consistent, so we're going to keep going.
Yes.
And we're going to keep reminding you about the concert. Thank you to everyone that have purchased your tickets. The tickets are selling good, good. I appreciate it. We were having a planning meeting tonight, talking about it, and I'm really excited about what's happening in the city of Richmond. A lot of people are saying it's my birthday, but I'm just really excited about the music. We're gonna celebrate the birthday afterwards, but I can't wait for you guys to just be in the room and hear the music.
It's gonna be a production. It's not just gonna be like singing, right? It's gonna just be a production, and so I'm so excited. Y'all know theater is my thing, so I want to incorporate that into the concert as well. So it'll be a great experience. And so if you haven't gotten your tickets, head over to robperkins.com.
robperkinsjr.com.
Okay, I always forget.
See you, Pastor Tracy. Thank you so much for staying with us. Connie, good to see you.
Yeah.
When we're coming back, we're trying to do it every 2 days. So we'll see. We'll finalize the time and see what time works for everybody. I know y'all, our age. And when I say y'all,
okay,
like we start shutting down at 9 o'clock. So,
come on, sorry.
So maybe while you're getting your robe and your tea or whatever your reading material ready, maybe we'll come on and just have some dialogue in the future. But thank you.
And also comment below and let us know other things that you guys want to hear us talk about. That's always helpful so that we can address.
Hey man, tell Rudy I said what's up, man. Good to see my brother.
Hey Rudy.
Listen, we try not to walk on eggshells, but I know some of these topics are very, very touchy,
and we try to just lightly walk over top of it.
But look, if you don't talk about it, you don't heal, you don't address it. So we try to bring some of that stuff to the surface so we can actually heal and have healthy marriages. We believe that marriages can be healthy if you're willing to do the work, whatever it takes to live up to those vows that we made at the altar before God.
Exactly. And just know that this is tough because whenever you give your opinion about something, everybody doesn't always agree with your opinion. Right. And so please keep us in prayer that we don't say anything that is going to get us dragged on the internet. I try to be as transparent as possible and realistic as possible, and cover my bases and make sure you understand and hear my heart, and him as well, hearing his heart, because we really just want effective marriages, families, whatever that looks like for you. Everything may not be the same for us as it is for you. However, we want to hear you and have other people hear you, not just our opinions. So chat on in the text.
All right. So we'll talk to you guys later. Do you have any last words? You have 30 seconds.
Good night. I always be singing. It's crazy. Yeah.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I
got it all out?
You know how you hit your arm and you be like, I'm that person.
I think you're the only person
so,
to do that.
I'm not. Singers do it all the time. People create YouTube videos or TikTok videos about doing that, and singers do it like you sneeze. Achoo! Like people that sing do that.
Okay. God bless you. I do that. I do that. The devil do. Bye, y'all. Good night.
Bye.